So let's assume you're looking at getting a franchise and using that as the basis for an E-2. What requirements or considerations do you need to keep in mind? Well, the requirements aren't too different when you're acquiring a franchise as compared to opening a new business from scratch or acquiring another existing business. For the most part, the considerations and requirements are the same. You have to show a commitment of funds. So let's say roughly maybe 100,000, could be a little bit less. Ideally, you show some jobs that will be created if they're not already created. And for the most part, the government is pretty flexible in terms of revenue levels and profitability. They don't get too much into the profitability, at least at the initial stage with the first application and maybe the first renewal. If after you've had a first approval and you've had a renewal and you're still having problems generating profit, at that point, there might be some problems. But again, that applies regardless of whether you have a franchise or not. I would say the most important issue to keep in mind when acquiring a franchise is the issue of control. So under the E-2 regulations, you have to oversee and control the business. And there have been cases I've heard about, we've never had that personally with our clients, where the government would say the franchisee has such little control over the business that in essence, they are not the owners. It's really the franchisor that's calling all the shots and running the business. Like I said, I think it's a very unusual and rare situation. I would say in general, immigration officers are a little bit more positively predisposed to franchises just because they know there's somebody standing behind the investor besides just him or her, that there's a company that's vested in the success of this person as well. They have methodologies and work processes and supply chains all worked out so that theoretically the business should be the likelihood of a successful business should be a little bit higher than in the case of a person just starting off on their own. That's a very broad generalization. Don't take that to mean that you're guaranteed to get an approval with a franchise, but I would say on average, there may be a little bit more positively predisposed. But again, like I said, the one issue is control. You need to review the franchise documents in order to show that the franchisee, the investor, really does command, control, and oversee the business. Yes, the business has to meet the certain requirements in terms of branding and marketing and production of the franchisor, but those generally are considered acceptable. But if it goes beyond that there's some extraordinary terms in there that say the franchisor can take over the business in this kind of situation, or they have too much of a day-to-day control over the operations of the company, then you might run into some problems from an E-2 perspective. If you would like more details about how you can combine a franchise with an E-2 process, please reach out to us. We have years of experience and would be happy to assist you in that process.